So raise your hand if you've ever decided to jump out of a perfectly operating airplane. Oh, we have some thrill seekers in here. Awesome. Well, around this time last year, I decided to do something crazy. I went skydiving. And even though it had been on my bucket list for my entire adult life, even though I nearly wept on the phone when my fiance, now husband, told me that this was going to be my 30th birthday gift from him, and even though I am a self-professed, thrill-seeking, adrenaline junkie who loves roller coasters and thinks Cedar Point is absolute heaven, I gotta admit, I was a little bit afraid. I mean, I had never deliberately faced death in the face before, and I had never done so willingly. But as we loaded ourselves inside the plane, and as we ascended the 14,000 feet, and as the side door of the plane flew open, I had never flown in a plane with the door open before, and the wind gushed toward my face, I really started to second-guess these harebrained shenanigans. It was all good just a few hours prior to when I was excitedly skimming the waiver. I didn't really read it all, just signed my life away, should anything tragic happen. And I was fidgeting through the mandatory video training. But in that moment, I felt a familiar cocktail of anxiety. You know, the butterflies in the stomach, the bile slowly rising up in my throat. And in the last moments before the leap, all of these what-ifs invaded my thoughts. I mean, what if I forgot to look at my altimeter like they told me to and pull the chute string? What if the parachute itself failed? What if, during the landing, I came in too hot and broke both my legs? These were all the thoughts that I had, because I had never done this before. And obviously, I made it out of the experience alive, because I'm here to share this story with you. And as you can see, that was my face right before I leapt. And so some of you who may not have raised your hands earlier might be thinking, who in the world would volunteer to do that? Who would pay to jump out of an airplane on purpose? But I'm sharing this with you because, interestingly enough, I believe that entrepreneurship is much like skydiving. In fact, I'm pretty sure that some of you who have been thinking about entrepreneurship or have leapt into entrepreneurship already have felt those same feelings I described earlier before you decided to take the leap into the abyss that is entrepreneurship. Or anytime you decide to take a new scary risk inside of your already existing businesses. And so even though entrepreneurship has become a glamorized buzzword and everybody's talking about it, there's even conferences about it, I'm baffled at just how many people feel trepidation around the concept still. Partly because of the stories that we're told, like how much money in the bank you have to have before you're truly ready, about how your family, what your network and what your friends have to look like, about how many degrees you need behind your name. And it's also about the stories that we tell ourselves, like how we just need one more internship before you could take that leap. Or about, I just need one more degree, or I need one more lateral move in the industry that I'm working in, just to get that hands-on experience, Or about how much more money I need to stack before I truly feel ready, so that I could break my fall if I had to. All these were plans that I thought I had to perfect before I felt worthy enough to leap into entrepreneurship. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm an advocate for planning. I think planning is great, but there's a difference between active planning and analysis paralysis. And there are too many people who are in the latter phase, and they're cheating themselves out of the life that they could live, the rich life that they could live, and the purpose that they are here to serve. And so during today's session, I just hope that I say one thing, just one thing, that stops the cycle of limiting beliefs and that prompts you to truly live the life that you're called to. So instead of believing in old paradigms about how many boxes you need to check, instead of believing that you need to have all these degrees or all this money in your bank, I want to share with you 3 ways or 3 things that anyone can master and achieve in order to create success in entrepreneurship. And none of them have anything to do with the amount of money that's in your bank account, the number of degrees behind your name, or even your upbringing. So the first thing you absolutely, positively need to have is incredible conviction. Because for a leap of this magnitude, you'd better believe in yourself. And so when I decided that I was going to go skydiving, I was assured and I was rooted in my conviction for 3 reasons. Number 1, my fiance, now husband, had done his due diligence. He had researched the skydiving site. He had read all the reviews, like the researcher he is. And he also looked up the safety measures that the skydiving site took. So I felt like, he's not gonna set me up to die. His name's not on the insurance yet. The second reason is because everyone that I spoke with that experienced skydiving, they couldn't even describe the feeling afterward. And I wanted to feel that. And number 3, it's something that I always wanted to do. And so I was not about to let my fear of the unknown stop me. And there was nothing anyone could do to sway me from my decision because I had incredible conviction. And I had and still do have that same conviction for my business. So I knew my why, and I encourage you to know yours too. Because there's going to be a whole lot of detractors. There's going to be a whole host of naysayers who are going to doubt your brilliant ideas and even question your sanity. But you cannot afford to let yourself be one of those people because your conviction, the life of your business, lies and depends on the amount of conviction that you have because it's going to carry you through those inevitable, scary, rough, and lonely times. And so most of that time, that conviction is going to come from chasing problems, not money. Now, that might seem counterintuitive, but hear me out here. You see, in business, when you chase problems, you study them, and then you become utterly obsessed with finding a solution to them. And by doing so, you're going to inevitably add value to the marketplace. And that's when the magic happens and the money comes. And so in business, there's this well-known acronym, ABC, always be closing. But for the purposes of this talk, I invite you to always be curious. Because that's the next thing that you have to have if you're going to be incredibly successful in business. So if you've ever asked yourself, I wonder what would happen if, like I did when I decided to go skydiving, or if you've asked yourself, I wonder if it has to be done that way. Can it be done differently? Like I did when I decided to start my own marketing agency. I encourage you to keep that fire burning for your passion by prioritizing curiosity. Break things, follow your impulses, do things backwards, take incredible risks, test relentlessly. Because if you stay curious, you're always going to find a new and better way to do things that's going to give you a leg up on your competition, that's going to surprise and delight your clients and customers, and that's going to ultimately increase your bottom line. Now, we have so many innovative companies that have prioritized curiosity, and they're super valuable now for it. I mean, 10 years ago, would you have even thought that you could jump inside of a stranger's car and they drive you around and you gladly pay for it? Well, now we have companies like Uber and Lyft, both of which are worth $100 billion combined. 10 years ago, would you even think to consider staying in someone's home and pay them for it? Like pay them a rental fee for a room or rent out their entire house? Or Even those of you who rent out your houses, would you even consider doing it, allowing a stranger to do it? Well, now we have companies like Airbnb, and it's worth $38 billion. And they're disrupting entire industries. And so out of your curiosity opens up a world of possibilities and infinite potentialities. It's where some of the best, most innovative ideas come from. And it's where, most likely, your most profitable idea will be birthed. Okay, so you have a problem that you're obsessed with. You have a solution, or you're trying to find a solution for that problem. You're insatiably curious about it, but the journey doesn't stop there. Even the dopest ideas are powerless if they stay locked inside you. Now, I have this theory, well, this belief, actually, that ideas themselves are quite worthless. The magic and the money is in the execution. And so I'm willing to bet that the only difference between you and all those people that you admire in business is just one thing. They decided to embody an inconvenient courage. Now, it's important for me to pause here to sort of define courage, because a lot of people have some misconceptions about what that word means. Being courageous doesn't mean being fearless, because as humans, we will all inevitably feel fear at some point or another, especially when we decide to do something that we've never done before. But instead, I believe that curiosity is deciding to move forward in the face of fear. You just got to do it. Now, I know that's easier said than done, and I know because I've experienced fear and I've allowed it to paralyze me. And there's a lot of people, including myself, who refuse to move on their brilliant ideas because they want to tweak them relentlessly until they're perfect, or they talk themselves out of even launching the idea because they think somebody has already done it before. But pro tip, you don't have to be first to market. You just have to be better. And finally, a lot of people talk themselves out of their brilliant ideas because they want to know the next 3, 4, 5 steps and what's around the corner. But can I let you in on a little secret? Those things are just glorified forms of procrastination, and they make you avoid the inevitable, messy reality journey that comes before the glory. And so when I speak to people who are interested in entrepreneurship, who have great ideas for products and services, I hear one resounding theme. It's fear. And so they fear the idea of replacing their steady income with the perceived idea of scarcity, or, oh my gosh, now it's all on me to create revenue and income for my business. But it's time that we get real with ourselves, because honestly, there's no such thing as job security. Not anymore. Not when companies are downsizing their entire workforces. Not when companies are relegating their full-time workers to glorified freelancers or contractors. In fact, Forbes estimates that by 2027, 50% of all US workers will be self-employed. So it's not a matter of if you decide to take a leap, but when. And so that's why it's so important to move on your brilliant ideas and embody an inconvenient courage. It may be scary. That's very normal. It may be uncertain. That's normal too. And you may not know what's around that next corner. But just like skydiving, the scariest moment is right before you jump. So I've learned another invaluable yet counterintuitive lesson in entrepreneurship, and that is this: action creates clarity. Instead of waiting for the perfect time, or for the stars to align, or for a perfect set of circumstances, I invite you to start taking small steps toward your big ideas and your goals. And you'll be surprised at just how many of the next steps start to reveal themselves after that first one you took. And it's your proverbial net. So it might reveal itself in the form of support from your friends and family or your network of colleagues. It might reveal itself as an opportunity that just probably would not have come had you not leapt. And so on the way down, hopefully you'll be screaming like that.
I want to go skydiving with this lady again.
So there's an ancient Chinese proverb that says, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is now. And all I ask is, when will you plant yours? Thank you.